Okay, I made this small table here, a test table. Designed a few fields. None of these fields have currently has caption in them, and I have a little code in here to actually test, and I have created some text constant. I'm going to use creating text constant and ENU captions in the Mergetool. So the first thing to do here is to actually export it, and I'll just export it here to a temp folder. To text, and then I'll go import it in Mergetool. And that's the table here. And I can leave everything else blank here for now. So now I have the code in here, and I can go look at it as normal in here in the Mergetool. So I can see there's no captions in the objects, and I have my text down here. So now I want to use the function to create ENU caption, and it really runs in 2 steps in here. First one is to create and scan the code, and I'll go in here and say I want to recreate text constant, and if I find one here, first I have to put in my range of objects, and that's where I consider every object in this range to actually be mine, and I will add to every field, create every text constant that is in there. The other one with field numbers, that's the one that I added to base objects, and those ones are treated a little different. I don't want to fix Microsoft's problem, I only want to fix my own problem, so only fields within this range are actually going to get text constant and captions. The last option is only used when I actually do the second step, that is the export up here. But right now I recreate it. And as I have created these text constants, I now have a list of text content. See, this one don't contain any of the missing captions in that one, because those ones should be there unconditionally. So now I can go in and say, if I don't want to use them during the export, so I can put this check mark in here and do that one. I can also use the function down here, F9, to actually toggle it. So, but I want to create text constant for both of these ones in here. So I now created text constant, and I looked at them. Second step is now to actually export it. And this one is where I want to give it another file name, because it's going to create a text file for me. And I will uncheck this one, recreate text constants. Then when I click OK, we now exported it to a table 2 in here. And if I go look in my folder here, I can see I now have test table 2 in here. To be able to see what changes are, we can just import that one into the merge table, so or merge tool in here. So I will import test table number 2 here, and I'll go ahead and compare it against number 1. And I can then this one very fast with this tiny object in here. So if I look at it in here, I can see my contrast, and if I look at what has been added, I had some code before, and I can see this one actually ends up, I have captions for the object. I have caption added on every field down here, and see there's brackets around it and things like that one. So this one is intended to be imported. I have my text constants created and so on. So everything looks right. So let's go to the object designer and import my table. And this one is now being imported. I can compile that one. And if I now look at it, I now have captions for everything. I have captions for the objects in here. And if I look at my code, it has now been changed, so it's now using text 001. 001 is because this one is in the object range that I consider my objects, the 50,000 to 99,000 range, and that's why it actually had text number 001, else it would have used text 50,001 if it was been a base modification. So that's how to use it, and let's just do one last thing here. Export it to test table number 3. Go back in the Mergetool and actually import that one and try compare it, because there actually is some changes when you export. So I'll go in here and compare it to number 2. The code actually puts a little more code around it, so I can see this one. There used to be these square brackets. There used to be square brackets down here. This one has actually been cleaned up, and that's the square brackets. I put that just to be sure that it will work all the time. Navision will remove it if they're not necessary in here. Same about the text here. It was uppercase. Now it's the real case as it should be down here. So, yeah. So that's how to use creating or the function in the Mergetool to actually create ENU caption. It runs in 2 steps. One to identify it, and you get all the text constants. You don't get all the captions. And then the second step is to export, and that's where it really applies it into the code.